Good morning. Welcome to the latest edition of Coffee with CartLaw Alabama. I'm your host, Daryl Cartwright, an attorney based in Birmingham, Alabama, practicing throughout the state. This morning, I wanted to spend a few minutes talking with you about something that came up recently. It was forwarded to me by a friend of mine, Michelle Riley, who is the founder of the Notaries for Alabama Hangout Facebook group, a very, very good Facebook group that consists of a lot of individual notaries sharing information and thoughts and asking questions and becoming educated by Michelle and others related to all things notary. Michelle is a great trainer. She educates, does seminars on notary rules and laws, is a national speaker, and it sounds like I'm on her payroll, and I'm really not, I promise. But I wanted to give you a little background to explain kind of why I'm talking about what I'm talking about today. She has been on the forefront of the remote notarization since they began in Alabama with the pandemic hitting and Governor Kay Ivey issuing emergency proclamations allowing in Alabama for the first time remote ink notarizations, and then has been closely monitoring remote online notarizations, which don't require a physical wet signature at all. She's been monitoring that for some time. And that's what we're talking about this morning, a case that arose that points out just how careful you must be and the pitfalls of not doing everything, not dotting your I's, crossing your T's, and following the required rules for online notarizations or really any notarization. The case of Fang versus Nexus Development Holdings, LLC, is a case that was filed in King County, Washington. It involved the use of RON, remote online notarization, to perform a notarial act in a closing that took place for a remote signer. And of course, that's really what remote online notarization is designed to do. It is designed to be available and allow remote signers, those that aren't in the physical presence of the notary, to actually sign and conduct business in the way that they need to conduct it. Unfortunately, in that particular case, the one that Michelle forwarded to me, the notary did not completely comply with the law, and it has resulted in a lawsuit that was filed against a number of people, including the notary themselves. The allegations of that case are merely allegations until they are proven, but for our purposes, I'm going to refer to them as if they were facts and proven. While the plaintiff was out of the country, an unknown female referred to in the complaint as Jane Doe number 1 impersonated the plaintiff and actually closed on a private sale of the plaintiff's real estate. She sold the real estate that belonged to the victim, the plaintiff here. The closing included a warranty deed that Jane Doe number 1 signed and had notarized using RON. Now, what's interesting to me here is that this may be a case where we see that, of course, always the notary should follow notarial best practices, but this is a case where we might see that, in fact, it was the most dangerous practice for the notary because everything the notary did was videotaped and recorded and kept, because that's what video notarizations or online notarizations, remote online notarizations actually require. It actually, their actions and inactions were recorded for posterity, so everyone could see that. Now, what happened? What went wrong here? Well, several things. First, the case did not say, or at least I didn't read, whether or not they used third-party identity verification services. The state of Virginia, that law actually controlled this closing. And in the state of Virginia, that is required to be a part of the process. In fact, in Alabama, there is a similar type of process that's also required now in our remote ink notarizations, which require a wet signature, a physical document, etc., but at least it allows some remote capability. We don't know if they followed through with that. My guess is they did not, but even if they did, they failed miserably on the other aspects of the remote notarization. Jane Doe number one, the party impersonating the plaintiff, the seller, or actually I should say the owner, because the owner wasn't really selling. Jane Doe number one held up her driver's license or some card that looked like her driver's license. Unfortunately, you couldn't see the picture. It was blurred. The text on it was unintelligible. You couldn't read it. Nevertheless, the notarial act went forward. The notary did not ask them to turn it over to see the other side, to look at and maybe help determine the authenticity. The allegations of the complaint said that the notary didn't pay attention to answers that Jane Doe number one was giving that would have shown them that this was an imposter. And in fact, they should not have gone through with the notarization. In addition to the fraudulent seller, there were a number of parties that were involved in the sale that were also named as defendants in this lawsuit, including the purchaser, the real estate agent, and of course the notary themselves. That case was filed in King County, Washington on November 30, 2021. It's still ongoing. A separate parallel action was filed to quiet title. It's an in-rem action to return the title back to the victim. And for the victim's sake, fortunately, they were successful in getting the real estate returned to them. Through that. However, the lawsuit continues. They're still looking for monetary damages against the notary, the real estate agent, and others. It just goes to show that you have to follow the rules and the regulations to a T. You can't get in a hurry. You can't be so anxious to please the seller, the buyer, whoever has hired you, that you ignore red flags, that you skip steps. You can't do it. The fee is not worth the exposure where you could end up being the defendant in a lawsuit. I know that nobody that's part of the Alabama Notaries Hangout Facebook group would skip these kind of steps, because we are all better educated with that, and we share information and questions with each other, and we are cautious and follow the best notarial practices. I hope you continue doing that. You have a great rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, guys.